Okay, in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started while we have quite a few people here already. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Why Nonprofits Face Donor Fatigue. We're really pleased to have you, and it looks like we actually saw some of you at AASP a couple weeks ago, which is great. Your hosts today are going to be Valerie and Holly. I'll let them take it away, but before I do, just a reminder that we will be doing a drawing for a $150 Amazon gift card actually at the end of the presentation. So if you want to stay tuned, we'll pick the winner after this.
Great, thanks, Farah. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. Just real quick, brief agenda. One is kind of defining donor fatigue. What is it? What does it mean to you? What is it from the donor's point of view? Some of the challenges that you have within your operations, and of course, then visibility into your gift process and donor documents. So real quick, just who I am and who Valerie is. Like Farah said, some of y'all may have seen us at AASP. I actually did a session with one of our clients at Catholic University, but my name's Holly Condon, and I manage the sales team here at PairSoft. But before that, actually started my career at Blackbaud in 1993 and have been working with nonprofits ever since. Today's focus, my focus primarily is helping people make that transition into a digital environment, getting rid of that paper, getting rid of those inefficiencies within their operations. With me today, I also have Valerie Albertsen. Hey, Valerie, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, Holly, and thanks everyone for your time. As Holly mentioned, my name is Valerie Albertsen. I'm account executive here, and I've worked in the nonprofit and university space for over 15 years to really help transform that digital process. And I work specifically here at PairSoft with our BVCRM customers and prospects, as well as Razor's Edge. So glad to have you join us today.
Great. We want to make sure we keep this informal. Nobody likes a real formal webinar. So if you have questions, you will notice in your toolbar coming off the top of your screen that there is a section in there where it's Q&A. And if you can put any questions that you have, comments in there, we'd love to hear from you throughout the session. And Valerie will be monitoring that when she's not speaking, and I'll monitor it when I'm not speaking. How about that? So defining donor fatigue, what is it? And that's really when key contributors, those donors, either reduce their donations to the nonprofits that they've been giving, consistently in the past. And of course, with the Blackbaud systems, you have visibility as to who those donors are because of the SciBunt or LIBunt reports that you may be running weekly, monthly, annually, to figure out which donors fall in that category. But some of those early signs, as you can tell by those reports, are really, those frequencies being reduced, the amounts being reduced that they've previously given, or unresponsiveness, engagement, as we like to call it, with the communications that you're sending out for them. Are they reading your emails? Are they reading your newsletters? Are they clicking through to events that you may be promoting, and so forth? So from the donor's point of view, what is it that they're looking for? Well, they're really looking to identify worthy causes. And we saw a lot of this transition over the past couple of years with COVID, because many of us in our local communities, you saw an uptick in the need of food banks and those services, right? We saw housing issues, homelessness, things like that, medical issues that came along with the pandemic. And so a lot of the donations were really kind of funneled over to these causes, and us as individuals were also, helping championing those causes as well. So, we want to make sure we're making impacts in our community, no matter what the cause is. Also, financial hesitancy. So this kind of falls in that macroeconomic bucket. Maybe I could give $50 last year, but maybe this year it's $10, or maybe I'm not in a position to give it all. So there's some sentiments there with the donor as to what they're able to donate today. Lack of personalization leading to disengagement. Are we sending out targeted emails, targeted communications, targeted appeals? And what those expectations are for loyalty, in the future. Is it something that's really dear to me because maybe I, was at a hospital, my child was at a hospital, and I'm going to champion that cause because of the care that they provided to me and my family. So along with these donor sentiments, right, is how we handle things in the back office of our operations. And so, for example, this is something I've heard many, many times over the past many decades. I hate to say it, but yes, I am that old. A donor the staff knows that a donor has given a large contribution, but they really don't have visibility of it in their office yet. So, well, they send out an email, hey, has anybody seen this 10K donation that donor XYZ just sent in? Have we received it yet? Maybe they're sending it through, Teams, maybe they're sending it through Slack or some other tool. But what that does is kind of sends out that alert to everybody. Now, why does that happen? Why are they sending out that alert, that request? And that is because there is a window of silence, right? From the point in time that donor sends that check comes into your operations, and the lack of visibility to the time it actually shows up as a gift in your CRM solution, right? And so really what we focus on is some of these controls that we can address, and that is the workflow, right? How do we give organizations control of their process and better control of it, even by giving them that visibility to know when a donation hits that door, right? Because we're not photocopying it, right? Many of y'all may be photocopying gifts as they come in. That's great for those that actually have access to that paper. But, how do we give access to that broader audience to know what actually has come in because of that proper audit log? So some of your challenges, well, I just touched on a couple of them, and that is donor fatigue, which is tough for process and systems to really handle. But Valerie, do you want to talk about some of these points?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll circle back to you on the protection of donor data, because I believe you were in the EU and spoke at a conference for that GDPR. But lack of control, just like Holly mentioned in her scenario, really not having that visibility of the process and really creating a lot of inefficiencies around that, of understanding what is where, who has it, where it is in the process, is something that we're hearing a lot from our customers, and really having that as a part of their challenge, in conjunction with not understanding who is accessing what. So that from a security perspective, having control around not only where is it, who has it, but who's touched it, who has the rights to it. And if it's in filing cabinets or in a shared drive, really anybody has access to seeing that. So really adding some guardrails around that. And then also, another big challenge that we're hearing is the disaster recovery. So, most recently, a great example is Hurricane Ian. Really protecting that data. If it's not digitized and it's in a paper format, how do you recover that? Or just as the world saw with COVID, not being able to have direct access to the information that you need to get your job done efficiently.
Yeah, and
I'll defer back to you, Holly, on the donor data protection, so you can kind of share a little bit about the conference that you spoke at.
Yeah, so I was actually going to talk about the, just with Hurricane Ian as an example. I'm actually in South Carolina, so we were affected by it, but I will say paled in comparison to obviously what those people in Florida are dealing with today. But if you think about it, 60% of your constituent data is not stored in your CRM system. It's actually stored in business documents. So think of the impact that could have if those documents just disappeared one day. Okay, so if we go back to lack of protection on donor data, because again, these things are all tied together, that is, we look at GDPR as that gold standard of protecting our donor information. As I like to say, we are stewards of it, right? It is their data, but we are responsible for protecting it. And it's very difficult to protect it when it is in paper form. So some of those things with GDPR, it's how about who's accessed it? You know, if it's in paper, are they signing a log as to know who looked at it, what they did with it, things like that? Did they email it? Did they print it? Did they save it? So knowing that information is really key. One of the other key points to GDPR is encryption, right? We need to make sure that all of that content is encrypted, right? So it's not just a document out there on the cloud that if somebody gets into that cloud, they can see. No, it needs to be encrypted. So that means if that cloud environment was penetrated, all of those supporting documents are secure from that encryption key. And that is really essential to GDPR. So, you know, first we heard about GDPR in EU. And of course, there are several states that have adopted it in the United States. So California being one. But even if you're not in California, you may have donors that are in California and may need to adhere to those standards. So those are some of those business issues that the PaperSave solution really can address. So Farah is going to put up a quick poll here about, you know, which of these business issues resonate with you. And I'm not sure if you can select multiple ones. If you can't, select the one that really hits home the hardest with you. I tried to vote myself, but unfortunately, host and panel.
I tried to.
I wanted to see if I can select multiple, but it may just be one. So sorry about that. And we'll give it a few more seconds. Okay, so we've got some results here. Donor fatigue, 56%. Yep, lack of controls and inability to nurture relationships being the third primary concern of the attendees today. So let's go forward and let's talk about some of the business issues that can be controlled by processes, by systems, and so forth. And that's one natural disaster. So we already covered Hurricane Ian. Of course, that was a localized disaster in Florida and coastal South Carolina, but there are lots of other types of real life disasters. That could be fires, tornadoes, it could be employee theft or fraud, but regardless, right? If it's paper form, we haven't digitized it yet, then that information can easily disappear on us. Manual processes. Manual processes are taking up a tremendous amount of time. And what's the old adage, right? Time is money. And that time really could be better spent personalizing communications to the donors. Time could be spent on better researching your donors. You know, what's their propensity? What's their ability to give to your cause? Also, it creates another issue with manual processes because it really lacks that sole source of truth that so many organizations are going after. So, you know, you might look to your CRM solution as that sole source of truth. But when you have documents stored, I've got documents stored on my computer. I've got documents stored on SharePoint. I've got documents stored in shared network folders. And sometimes even the if you've gone and tried to digitize things and putting in network folders, sometimes the challenge is, ooh, do I put it in this folder here or do I put it in this folder here? So there's a disconnect there because the way my mind wants to file it may be different from Valerie's. And she may put it someplace else. So there still lacks consistencies because of the lack of indexing that can be done on a document, meaning, can a document be in 2 folders at once? Well, technically it can be, but that's a tremendous amount of work. And there's a whole nother business issue around your record retention policies and knowing where things are. And then, of course, macroeconomics. So with macroeconomics, right, we've got inflation that we hear about. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like every time I turn on the news, it's talking about inflation of bread and milk and eggs and gas and everything else. And that is also affecting donors. There's more hesitancy to write those checks that they were before. So visibility to your process and really taking control of things that matter to you and your back office and your team, right? Of course, driving efficiency is really one of the key things. So at PaperSave, we provide centralized document management and gift process automation, okay? And that is giving you access to that entire process. The minute that gift comes in the door, you know where it is, right? If the gift is over $5,000, hey, you don't have to send out an email alert because the system can do it for you. I mean, how nice would that be, right? And then it follows that through the process all the way through the CRM system, giving you that bird's eye view of knowing what's out there, knowing what's been received, but yet may not be in Razor's Edge. Now, what the value is there is you can now start to track metrics to know when a document, i.e. a gift, has come in and how much time it takes for that gift to be processed to that acknowledgement letter being ready to go out the door, right? Those are valuable KPIs that you may not have the visibility today because half of it is a manual paper-based process. The other is maintaining those donor records. So again, that sole source of truth, knowing everything about that donor, whether data objects or documents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up on my screen and we're going to go into a real brief view of kind of what does that process look like? How easy can you get to documents and so forth? So here I am in the system, okay? And unlike file attachment features, right, they lack the ability to, other than going to one record and being able to open up a document. You can't kind of search across records. What do I have out there? So here in the PaperSave search, we have our simple search, okay? So all I need to do is type in a value. Let's say I'm looking for all those fund agreements, okay? Well, here are all of those fund agreements, and it's coupled with the record information from the Blackbaud solutions, like your fund ID, your fund name, your goal for that fund, your start date, your end date, maybe categories, maybe you're using those identifiers. So let's say if you are healthcare or you are higher education and you wanted to really say, hey, this is all good, but I really want to focus down on a specific category. Right? I don't have to go fund record by fund record by fund record to see what's attached. I literally can come right into PaperSave and I can go to category. Here's category, and I can say SCHOLAR. So we'll say scholarship. Now I've taken across all of those documents that are classified as fund agreements to the subset of documents like that. Right, so here's all that information. If I want to drill into one of those documents, I can do that. So I can do this on my mobile phone. I can do it on a tablet. I can do it here on my browser. I could do it sitting on the beach from Cancun. And if you ask Farah in marketing, Farah will tell you that she has taken full advantage of being able to work remotely because of having access to all these tools, having gone on some wonderful work adventures in different countries. So again, right, this information follows us. It's not only accessible through a filing cabinet that I need to have access to. Okay, so the other nice thing is information is portable. So if I said, hey, I need to provide these documents over to maybe somebody in our chemistry department. Well, again, here, right, native functionality, let's take this out to Excel. And you can see how it builds that Excel spreadsheet for me, and I can drill down into that supporting information. Once I enable editing, you can also see here where you have hyperlinks to those documents. So it's really important. And if I didn't have rights to these documents, then if I tried clicking that, it would not take me to the document, right? It would require that I authenticate myself in order to view the document to make sure that the document is secure. Now, going back to some of those things that I mentioned regarding like security, being the steward of your donor's information, how is this document being used, right? Filing cabinet, we really don't have the visibility, but just as an example, here we do, because I have an audit log. So that was one of those things that Valerie mentioned, right? Here you can see it's been viewed, but if I come and let's say I go to download it, right, you can see where the document's been downloaded. And if I come back here, you can see that I also saved the document. So it tracks anytime this document is touched after it's been acquired in the system. Okay. Now, just a couple other things regarding searching and donor documents. We like to think that this information really becomes three-dimensional for you. So if you're looking for something very specific, maybe I want to pull out any document that has a specific phrase or value on it. Then this allows me to come in and type in whatever that phrase is, and it's going to dynamically read through all of those filing cabinets, showing me what I have out there that I have rights to. So just as an example, if I didn't have rights to vendor records or fund records, those wouldn't even show up there, right? Now, if I filter on a record type, we'll see all that data that this document's actually tied to, like that record data. But all of this information can easily be sorted and filtered, as you saw there, with that previous example. And as you drill down into those documents, the system is going to show you where that value appears. So here you can see it appeared 4 times on the document, and then it highlights those 4 different placements on the document. So I don't even have to read this 4-page document looking for that value. It takes me right to it. So again, it's that time, that efficiency savings, that you're freeing up your staff to do more value added tasks as it relates to donor fatigue. Okay, now real quick, I mentioned the gift process, right? And that is process near and dear to many of our hearts. And just as an example, when the gifts come in, right, most of y'all may be doing photocopies. So one of the things that we like to do first is let's not create more paper, right? It's coming in paper form. We don't need to create more paper, which doubles the problem. We want to make sure that documents are captured easily. So right here through new, this is where you can use different types of scanners to scan those documents into the system. Now, we don't necessarily recommend those multifunctional devices because, you might experience, you have to open up the door, put the document down in the glass, shut the door, hit copy or scan, and then open it up and take it off, right? There's a lot to that process, especially if you're doing, multiple gifts in a day. So what you're doing is you're looking at a scanner that can scan different size documents very efficiently. So these types of scanners all do that. They can scan, you're going to open up today's mail, you'll take the stack. So maybe I got 20 gifts and they total 43 pages, right? We're going to take those 43 pages, drop them in the scanner. It's going to pull each page through automatically. Fujitsu scanners are really some of the best in class scanners. In doing so, they can scan 60 pages per minute. So if you think about it, using that example, we have 20 GIFs, 43 pages, and we can get those into the system and get them logged in 1 minute, right? Versus maybe 20 minutes just trying to do photocopies. Now, what that does is that creates those gift, that creates the log. The gift is recorded, and I shouldn't say the gift is recorded. The document's logged first. And then here you can see how it's extracted some of those data points. So anything that actually came off of that document, you can see a % accuracy, right? So that's data that's going to be used to create the GIF record without us even having to key it in. Now, where there is a lookup, like a magnifying glass, that's actually looking up and validating information right against the Razor's Edge and Blackbaud CRM database. Okay, information can be pulled off of checks. Information can also be pulled off of any appeals or supporting documents that come with the gift, come with the donation. And that information you can see here just as an example. Now, because this is a secure process, right? Somebody can be scanning in the office. Somebody else can be processing on the beach in Cancun. So here, if I'm sitting there on the beach, I am able to come in and look at these gift documents that have been scanned and captured. And right here, if I want to go in and update any of that information, or maybe add controls around security. So here, let's say redactions, maybe there was credit card information, or maybe we want to block out the check account number and routing number. We can do that individually, like you saw there, can also be done automatically, increasing that security around the donor information. So right here, just as an example, if all of that looks good, what I'm going to do is submit, and it creates that gift record for me. Okay, so again, validates that information, all of that looks good, and submit, it's going to create that donor gift. Now, if I flip over, just as an example, and I go into Joseph DeResta, and I scroll down to giving history, right? We can see the gift for today's date. And then here, right, we didn't actually key this in, system did it for us. And then here, I can see that supporting gift document. Okay, so if I have rights, I'm going to be able to view it. And you have that audit trail. So right here, you know who hit submit. Well, you saw I just hit submit, and just about, a minute ago, right? So you can see how fluid and streamlined that process is from the point in time that gift comes in the door to the point in time that it's in the CRM system and it's ready to be acknowledged as part of your process. And I know that we have a lot of other things that I love to talk about. I'm very passionate of, because of all of the value and time savings that it brings into an organization in being able to help with, what you want to focus on, not these manual tasks, these redundant tasks, but more of those value added tasks that take to addressing the issues around donor fatigue. So Farah, I think we may have had a few questions, if I'm not mistaken. I did see a few pop up. Whoops. Usually I thought there was a Q&A slide, but anyway, do you want to go through that?
Yep, if you just go to the next couple, there is a Q&A slide. Everyone, I think we have time for one question. I know we're a bit over here, so sorry about that, but just a reminder, I'm also going to do the drawing in a second for the Amazon gift card. In the meantime, Holly, the one question I'll pick out of the bunch, and feel free to add more to the Q&A if you have them. We'll contact you after. In your experience, what would you say is the #1 benefit of migrating to this type of record storage?
That's a really good question. I would say, there's some soft things like security, right? That's more of a focus on people today, is making sure that their information, their donor information is secured, right? It's hard to put a price tag on it. It's easier to put a price tag on efficiency and time savings, right? So if we can process a gift faster, that means we are reducing that overhead cost of a gift the cost per gift processed, right? If we can provide somebody quick access to information that maybe they had to call somebody and ask somebody to pull for them, they didn't have access to it themselves, right? There's a cost there, because that's not necessarily a high value task, which the high value tasks are dealing more with the donors. So I would say it's all kind of built around the same thing, but security and time savings are definitely the two biggest drivers there.
Excellent, that's great. And we did do the drawing, and I'm just making sure that the winner is here. And it looks like the winner of our $150 gift card is Rajda Yusbasiolu. So congratulations, and we'll be in touch with you after this. And thank you again, everybody, for your time. We're going to wrap up here, but again, we'll contact you if your question wasn't answered. And thank you again to Holly and Valerie for the great presentation.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.